ARCSOA Radio Hour is coming up right after these commercial messages. Welcome to the ARCSOA Radio Hour. My name is Joe Burns, ARCSOA commentator for this season, and alongside of me is the all-around racing analyst. Sorry, couldn't remember your name there. Graham Stacy. Graham, how are you doing today? Well, fine, thank you very much. We're here to bring you the first episode of the ARCSOA Radio Show, which will be about, I'll say, a couple of updates throughout the ARCSOA season, and it will be based around the ARCSOA season. So we'll be talking about pre-race headlines today and the schedule and what we predict could happen with the ARCSOA drivers and what they will be doing. So we're in for a good show, right, Joe? Yeah, that's kind of what we're expecting. Just talk about that. So, yeah. Commercial break. We're like ESPN. Welcome back after that short commercial break. So let's start by talking about the ARCSOA drivers of the season. The first one we're going to start off with is our Season 1 champion, F1 fan. He is, well, there are rumors, Graham, and you can maybe enlighten me on this one. There are rumors that F1 fan may be on his finale this year. He might not be racing. Well, I've heard those rumors too, and a rumor, what it looks like is he wants to go to IndyCar really badly, or take over the competition director for ARCSOA. Now, granted, I don't picture him in a competition director suit, in a suit and tie. He's much too feisty and a little bit too stubborn to be in that position. I mean, he was once quoted saying that the entire ARCSOA schedule needs to consist of 95% road courses and maybe 5% short tracks, feeling that any oval larger than a mile long is too dangerous for ARCSOA competitions. So I wouldn't want to see him in that position, but in all honesty, I think IndyCar on any oval would be too dangerous. Well, he is running the Indy 500 this year. Well, yes, that's actually surprising, but he has like a really big soft spot for Indy racing and open wheel cars, and I wouldn't expect him to become the ARCSOA competition director and become an IndyCar driver, because I think he would fit in well with IndyCar. They're more stuck up than ARCSOA drivers. Yeah, there has been some rather funny rumors that F1 fan is the one in the motor coach lot where like Extreme Speed would be hosting a monstrous party, or Fuel 83 would, and F1 fan would always call the security on them. Yes, that is right. And Richard Petty Motorsports, who he drives for, they're not sure if they're bringing the 43 car back. It won't be with GWR Duck Jr. since he's retiring, but we think he also might have gone to IndyCar. I'm not actually sure. Neither am I, but I'll have to know. I know he's racing in another series, but not in ARCSOA. Right then. Our next driver that we're going to be talking about is Fuel 83 driving for JTG Doherty. For JTG Doherty. And, Joe, can you enlighten us on JTG Doherty racing? It's essentially Michael Waltrip, isn't it? Exactly. They have all the support money coming from Michael Waltrip, and in all honesty, Michael Waltrip also holds a share in that team, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're Michael Waltrip's lead driver, even though he's technically not driving for Michael Waltrip. And Fuel 83 looks like he will be a mainstay at JTG Doherty for quite a long time, because, as you know, JTG JTG Doherty Racing is based out of Cleveland, Ohio, and he has bought a house on the Catawba Peninsula in Ohio, and right down the street from F1 Fan. Can't be happy about that, F1 Fan can't be. Well, anyway, Fuel 83 has bought a house that's about 30 minutes away from the factory, and he really, that tells you he's got a mainstay there on that team. He also holds his house in Savannah, Georgia, or around Savannah, Georgia, so that should be interesting to see what he can do with JTG Doherty, because in Season 6 he did not have a very impressive run at all. Mainly out of bad luck, if I might also say. Yeah, he didn't have the best of luck. The only one with worse luck was Blue Thunder Fan, and he had a very, very unlucky season. He had a couple of very good runs, Blue Thunder Fan did, and really just didn't perform. And really just didn't have the luck to perform, rather. Yes, Blue Thunder Fan Racing is driving for a new team this year. There's been some inner-team financial issues with that 22 car this year. They are reportedly lodging an entry, but they don't have a driver yet. But Blue Thunder Fan Racing is racing for the Phoenix Racing Corporation in the 51 car. And I can expect that that's going to turn out very well for him, because that 51 car looked incredibly fast in preseason testing. So I'm really interested to see what he can do in that 51 car. He finished dead last in the Rookie of the Year challenge last year, so I just hope he has a very strong run this year. On to our next topic, extreme speed. Ah, yes, extreme speed. Well, I think if he never found a ride with that 48 car, the fans would buy him one, because he's clearly the fan favorite for everything. I don't know if it's the girls falling all over him because of his good looks or whatnot, but I don't see it. It's really difficult to say what Extreme Speed's going to do this year, because he'll have an on year, and then he'll have an off year, then he'll have an on year, then an off year. Last year he had pretty close to an on year. He almost won the championship if it wasn't for Field Jr. frickin' dumping him into the pit wall at Washington, D.C. He essentially had the championship locked up at that point, but other than that, we really haven't seen what Extreme Speed can do. I really think Extreme Speed can have a very strong run with that car, because he's quite clearly Hendrick's lead driver over BD Deadman, and this year is GWR Duck, and EAMZ, not EMAZ, EAMZ is in the 5 this year. He quite clearly is the lead driver there, Extreme Speed is. Yes, arguably all the money that Hendrick is dumping into that car, is dumping into his team, is a good bit of it's going to the 48 squad, so I'll be interested to see what Extreme Speed's going to do in that car, because, quite honestly, I'm really excited for that, to see if he can finally win that championship, because he was so close in Season 6. On to BD Deadman. BD Deadman was a rookie last year. He had a lot of speed. He had speed at the time. He had a lot of speed. He had a ton of speed, but then, kind of like Fuel 83, didn't have the luck that, that didn't back up his runs. Deadman's an interesting one, because like I said, he has had the runs, but he was the king of going a lap down and finishing a race in a damaged car. That's why he was in championship. He was technically a championship contender in season by Talladega in the season, but he couldn't. But he just kept finishing the race with a damaged car, 32 laps. I think at Carbondale he had 36 laps down. He was. So that's kind of interesting to see what he can do with. Hopefully he can have a better season this year, because I'm dead certain that 88 cars gotta be pushing high speeds, because he is in the same shop as the 48 car. So of Hendrick, and then the next garage bay over we think is the 24 and the 5. But I'm interested to see what he can do with that 88. On to the reigning champion, Beast, 29 car. Arguably, well, there are rumors that ARCSOA may not have a second car this year. Oh, actually, I take that back. There is a second car. I screwed that up. Alex Garge is in the second car, but in the 33 this year. But Beast has the talent to back up to retain his championship reign. Quite clearly, I think Beast could very well hold that championship and quite honestly have a very good title defense, very good chance of defending his title this year. If he's got to be my pick this year because he would look so strong in the mid part of the season. So, I mean, he was getting top 5s consistently, or top 10s consistently rather. And you know how crucial it is to finish races, and Beast was the king of that this year. That's kind of like the opposite of what he's been doing in other years because he never finished races, and whenever he did finish races, it was normally in a pretty good position. Exactly. I mean, Beast did the total 180 this year in Season 6 and just completely just jumped on that. And good run for him this last season, but it'll be interesting to see if he can defend that title. Alright, we already talked about Blue Thunder fan, kind of a little bit there. On to our first of the rookie class, Carl the Dragon, driving for Michael Waltrip Racing. The 15 car. Well, Michael Waltrip Racing's in a pretty interesting position right now. Right now, they've got a lot of money going into Fuel 83 and the JTG Geordie team. But other than that, they brought back Screwhead 9987, which is quite honestly a great idea in my book, because Screwhead will kind of be a mentor to Carl the Dragon, but I'm hearing that Michael Waltrip might be keeping a short leash on all their drivers, meaning Carl the Dragon and Screwhead, on their 2 drivers. Yes, we are hearing if they're not scoring if they're not top 10 in points by the midway point of the season, that they might get dumped. I don't know about that one. I think that was a dumb idea for Michael Waltrip to be doing, because I think Screwhead is quite clearly a very talented racer out there. He's been the king of bad luck over the last couple of seasons, back when he was racing. Last time he raced was Season 5. Didn't race Season 6, took a year off. But other than that, I think Screwhead, Carl the Dragon will have a very good inter-team fight there for that position to who's the lead driver. Because quite honestly, I think Screwhead's getting behind Fuel 83, behind Waltrip funding for the JTG Geordie team. I think Michael Waltrip is going to be funding for Screwhead 9987 over Carl the Dragon. So Carl the Dragon really has to show his perseverance in his rookie year, or else he might be a one-off. 1 year off, or maybe even a half year off. And a half year, and then he's gone. On to another Hendrick Brigade, the 24 car of GWR Duck. GWR Duck is the king of holding probably the most amount of talent in a crummy car. Well, other than Fuel 83, but GWR Duck just could never get a good finish in that 2 car. That 2 car just never provided strength for him. And GWR Duck now is in a very talented organization. The 48 and the 88 and the 5 with Hendrick. It'll be interesting, though, to see if GWR Duck gets the short end of the stick here, because he's got to step up with Extreme Speed, BD Deadman, and EAMZ to perform with them. And if he does not perform with them, then I could see him being another mid-season dump. But he has so much talent, I think he can grab a team no matter where he goes. I think that is a pretty decent thing to see GWR Duck will probably get another car. We are hearing that if Richard Petty goes up to the second team midway through the season, that GWR Duck may be getting there. But Hendrick really wants top 10s out of all the drivers, top 10 in points by halfway as well, kind of like Michael Waltrip. So it'll be definitely interesting to see if GWR Duck can step up to the big light, because now he's on a prime A-class team in Hendrick Motorsports, and it'll be just interesting to see what he can do. We're going from GWR Duck's current car, the 24, to his old car, the 2 car of Canjack. Okay. I've always had an issue with the way that us, the media, have been treating Canjack, because we quoted Canjack to winning his first race, almost, because he was filling in. He was in the reigning champion's car in Lego Korean, who perished tragically in that horrible weekend at Norman, Oklahoma in season 4. And it was just very, very tragic situations for him to going in. And he never could perform well. I mean, he had so much spotlight on him, I think it distracted him from his racing ability, and he still to this day does. And you just never can get the run. He's in the 2 car, which is pretty much a B-class team. And I'm interested to see what he could do with that car, because that 2 car we know is quick, and I'm the first one to stand by it, but the 2 car is a quick car. It was quicker than all of its team cars, but I'm just that's gonna be an interesting one, because Penske likes to hold on to his drivers as long as they can, and quite clearly last year, if you didn't notice it, then you were blind that the 2 was getting all the funding, and then all the experimental parts was going into the 22, and the 22 just kept blowing up. So the 2 car is by far the clear team leader if the 22 car does get picked by another driver, who we have no idea who will be in that car, but who might be in the 22 car. We're hearing maybe Fuel Jr., who doesn't have a ride yet, could get that car. Could get the 22, but we're not sure of that. On to WWE Fan in the 13. WWE Fan is the king of temporary circuits, and I don't think we have a temporary circuit all season this year. Except for maybe the Bodecker Hill circuit in Missouri, which isn't temporary, but it's pretty damn close to being a temporary circuit, the way it handles. But he's good on a lot of those temporary bumpy circuits where the bumps all over the place. There might be a street circuit in Canada. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that later in this episode, where Trois Rivières might get that day, but I'm not exactly sure who would. Where he's going to perform, so he's been pretty slow everywhere else. That car isn't exactly the best car in the field, so oh dear. And another thing about, before we get on to JG24JN87, we have to say some more thing about WWE Fan, and he's in a car that I think is probably the slowest car out there, and he needs to, that just shows how much talent he actually has, because he's on a very, very slow car this year, and very slow car last season, and he did quite well with it in the street circuit, so that should be quite interesting to see what he'll do. Onto the 87 car of JG24JN87. Kind of a mouthful to say. This is another rookie car. For the last 2 years, it's had rookies in it. It had Will Hoyt last season, who was the Rookie of the Year last season on that car, in a very underfunded car, might I also add. And JG24JN87 is the second car fighting for the Rookie of the Year title, and gosh, if he's gonna be fighting really hard for the Rookie of the Year this year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he'll do, because he has so much. He was in ARCSOA Lights last season, and he showed a lot of speed there, and I'm just really interested to see what he'll do. JG24JN87 is probably my best bet for Rookie of the Year this year, unless if the ARCSOA Lights champion NASCAR Denny steps up. Because if he steps up, then he's my guess for it. But JG24JN87 was third place, I think, in ARCSOA Lights last year. He won the ARCSOA Lights round of Ohio Motor Speedway in a photo finish with NASCAR Denny in a quite classy battle. But I'm really interested to see what he can do, because since he's a single car team, I don't think he's on firing watch like Carl the Dragon is, but I'm really interested to see what, he's not going to be fired if he doesn't do well, but I'm really interested just to see what he can do with that 87 car, despite its Rookie of the Year prowess. On to Mr. Awesome Retman, another rookie in the 14 car, the only Stuart Haas car, which is essentially another Hendrick car. He's gonna be. He has the least experience, I think. He did start some ARCSOA Elite races, or he has the most experience. I meant to say most, not least. He has he started a couple of Season 5 races, but never got anything past Race 4 before the series kind of went into financial issue, but some races still kept on. But Mr. Awesome Retman is fighting for Rookie of the Year because of that. Even though he was supposed to be fighting for Rookie of the Year Season 5, he will now be running for Rookie of the Year Season 7. And he is my best bet to go up against JG24JN87 for Rookie of the Year as of what we stand right now. Now, if we get NASCAR Denny in here, who will more than likely drive the 20 this season, if he comes, which could be a decent possibility. He might be going back to defend his ARCSOA Lights Championship. That will be interesting to see him go up against JG24JN87 and Mr. Awesome Retman for the Rookie of the Year title. And who knows, Carl the Dragon might do something, and there's one more rookie that we'll get to in a bit. That we'll probably get to in the next section here, which is Earnhardt Ganassi Racing. Earnhardt Ganassi Racing is quite honestly the worst multi-car team. They were so hopeless. They have had the most hopeless entries in this season. They were in ARCSOA. They've only been good on super speedways. But this could be their best season to shine because they've got the rookie in Racerman Rocks, and they've got Greg Brown of all people. Finally, they pried him away from Roush. Don't know how they did that, but can you put a little bit of an insight on that? Well, Greg Brown has a little bit of a temper. Actually, I take that back. Has a lot of a temper. Has a huge temper. And he wasn't very happy with how that 6 car was performing that last season. He's been in the 6. He won the championship in the 6 in Season 2. But I think he got fed up with Roush, and Roush loves to hold on to his drivers, so I'm surprised Roush let him go, but I thought there might have been a monstrous contract offer there, but that one, I think, was all Greg Brown leaving, and he got picked up by the 1 car who, he's not exactly who I'd pick for a mentor for Racerman Rocks, but whatever floats Earnhardt Ganassi's boat, so Racerman Rocks is going to be mentored by Greg Brown. They're going to be midfielders this year, and I'm really starting to see. I think Greg Brown made a career suicide move here by moving to the 1 car. I thought there was much better cars such as the 99 out there, or the 43 possibility that he could have gone to, and those cars are still empty, but Greg Brown, I don't understand that move either. He wanted the 1 car, don't know why. Sponsored by Bass Pro Shop, so we'll see how he'll do. Racerman Rocks, I think the funding will probably go to Greg Brown, but if Earnhardt Ganassi doesn't have any money, then how much will Greg Brown actually get is a decent thing, and how slow will Racerman Rocks be is another thing, so who knows, we could be just talking a bunch of bullshit right now, but I don't know. Next on it is the final Hendrick car of EAMZ 100. EAMZ 100 is clearly in the 4th car for Hendrick. The 5 car is probably the research and development car, so its reliability is crap compared to everybody else. And the research development car and/or the car that gets everything new last, which means EAMZ 100's got to really step into his shoes to be a decent title contender, or else Hendrick will can him. Hendrick will can him. He's in the same boat as GWR Duck, but I don't know if his seats are solidified as GWR Duck. On to Kyle Busch Racing 18. Yes, the Mexican. Kyle Busch Racing 18 has a lot of speed. He has a race in his home country now of Mexico, and I think he could produce a good championship hopes. Definitely, Joe Gibbs isn't one that will choose 1 car over the other. for their lead driver. So he's going to let an inter-team battle between himself and Mr. the Muppet Fan, who took the 11 car this season, and possibly NASCAR Denny, the rookie, who could be coming on in the 20. We're not sure about that, but there very well could be a decent battle between these three drivers, or at least the two, for who's going to get the spotlight in Gibbs' eye, because I think midway through the season he will put all of his money toward one driver, and it's who's ever going to be higher in points. So right now the midway point would be between Bodecker Hill, Missouri, and the round of Ohio at the Ohio Motor Speedway, and that's going to be a definitely heated time between those two, and I'm very interested to see the things that will happen during that period of time, especially with, like, Joe Gibbs Racing, who is going to let their drivers fight it out and not just give preference to one driver right away. So that'll be interesting to see, but anyway, on to Alex Garge in the second RCR car, the 33 car. Alex Garge has really been a midfielder his entire career. He won at Mallory Park in the wonderful land of Great Britain, might I also add. He won at Mallory Park, which was kind of a crash fest, but he will be in the 33, which is a high-quality car, and he's probably in the most heated seat right now, because he is on the hot seat. He needs to. That car was the leading in points going into Washington, D.C. He's in the 33 this year. God, I don't know what they're going to do with him, because if he does not perform, I wouldn't surprise me if by Mexico City he'll be thrown out. If he doesn't perform in the first 4 races. By Colorado, he won't be in that car. He's got a lot of pressure on him, Alex Garge does. And he's on a very short leash, so if he screws up and screws around, he won't be in that car very long. On to Mr. the Muppet Fan, who we already somewhat talked about. And on to the last car that is confirmed. Roush's, right now, only car being the 16 of Will Hoyt, last year's Rookie of the Year. Will Hoyt. What do you start with him? He had a bit of a... He started late. He started late in the championship, and what happened was he performed very well under bad circumstances and came up to being a championship contender afterwards. He's probably one of the most consistent drivers out there in a really crappy car, so he could very well be a championship contender in my book, because now all that 6-car funding that Greg Brown got is going to be going into the 16 car as well as the 16-car funding. So that car should be, in all honesty, the greatest car out there, the best car out there. So I'm really interested to see what he can do with that car. Will Hoyt himself is probably the talented, and I'm going to throw him out as a championship contender right now. I think he can definitely win this championship with that amount of funding he's got. So he's got so much funding from Roush now. Unless if the 99 car comes... Oh, yeah, we forgot about the 99 car. Forgot about the 99 car. That isn't coming back either. So he's got... Roush went from a 3-car operation, possibly it'll go up to a 2 now, to a 1-car operation. So he's got so much funding for him. He's the last year's Rookie of the Year. Roush likes to keep his drivers around for whatever reasons, even if they suck. They like keeping the drivers around, and will practically keep Will Hoyt around. So Will Hoyt's seat's pretty much safe. If you're with Roush, you're pretty much safe. So we've gone through the field as of now. Let's head to a commercial break, and we'll be back after these messages to talk about the tracks. Welcome back to the ARCSOA Radio Hour. I'm Graham Stacy here, and we're going to start talking about the tracks now that we're done with the current driver lineup. The driver lineup is, of course, ready to be changed, and there are some pretty interesting developments in the tracks. Yes, there are, and the interesting part is the insane amount of viewership that some of these states have, and now the states are applying for races now. ARCSOA is making the states apply for them rather than the individual tracks, and the states are to choose what tracks they want, leaving to be that there's only one track per state, one race per state. So therefore, the tracks are getting into huge bidding wars now to see who can get what, and a lot of it comes down to money and fan support. Like, for example, Florida, I think, has 5 different tracks going for it. And I know you're probably all thinking, it's gonna be Daytona! But no, it's not. I highly doubt it's Daytona, because there's a couple of other tracks that are bidding huge amounts of money. Florida's always held an opening championship, with the exception of Season 6, which went to North Carolina and Cape America, North Carolina. But it looks like the races are the 3 tracks that it looks like it's going to be for Florida. It will either be the Walt Disney World Speedway, which ARCSOA opened its season up on Season 5, the Daytona International Super Speedway, which obviously a few of the drivers want, a lot of the Super Speedway drivers want, and I think arguably the fans want that, and the Homestead Miami circuit, which F1 fans been arguably pushing for, because it's safer than both the other 2 tracks, he says, because it's got safer barriers, and it's got different and it's got it's actually fun to race on, he says, and it's not a crapshoot. I'm actually pushing for Homestead myself. As am I, because I get tired of seeing the crapshoots out of the super speedways. We get 2 of them at the end of the schedule with Alabama and DC, and we're getting one in Minnesota. So, we don't need 4 super speedways on a 15-race schedule. We don't need that. So, I think Homestead's the way to go right now. And I think the ARCSOA mines are also going for Homestead. So, it wouldn't surprise me if we were at Homestead for the season opener. Coming up next was the round of Georgia, and this one is probably one of the most heated battles. Yes, this one was. It is still. Right now, there's 2 tracks down to it, and you can probably guess which 2 it is. It's Savannah Speedway and Road Atlanta are going for it. And F1 fan, remember, is actively, I mean, really pushing for Road Atlanta, and he has hated Savannah Speedway ever since the day he set foot in it. And I'm really interested to see what if they take Homestead. I doubt they're going to take Road Atlanta, because I don't think F1's going to get 3 tracks then, because he also pushed for the Ohio Motor Speedway to get a date. But he would. I don't think he's going to get 3 tracks his direction. So, Savannah? Yes, I'll go with Savannah for that one. Then you've got the run of North Carolina, and this is down to another 3-track battle. This one's not as heated because it looks like Cape America is going to get it. But I guess Charlotte Motor Speedway is also talking about it, as well as the old Rockingham circuit. I would not want to see Rockingham nor Charlotte. I'd rather see Cape America. Just my personal opinions. I think Cape America is the best of the tracks. So go that. I say go to that. Then we are on the round of Mexico, which is quite clearly Mexico City. Yeah, no other questioning about it. There's a bit of a security issue with, like, drug cartels and whatnot, and ransom money, and there's already been threats upon the drivers, so that race could actually get cancelled, but we're not sure about that. There's a big safety concern, and there's talks about Arizona maybe getting a date at the Arizona Motor Speedway or Phoenix, but right now it looks like Mexico City's put up the money, so I'm looking forward to Mexico City because that is a nice track in Mexico. Round 5 is the round of Colorado at the Colorado International Speedway. Colorado. That was the track we had. They've been wanting to put a race, Colorado has, and it's gone through many ownership changes, and they all won ARCSOA races, and they had an IndyCar race there last season, and they had an ARCSOA race there in Season 2. And the ARCSOA race there in Season 2 came down to a huge reliability gamble and ultimately changed the championship. If Fuel wouldn't have finished dead last, he would have won the championship. But I think that one, but it definitely played a championship. If anything, that was the race that determined the Season 2 championship, not even Washington, D.C. Then you got the round of California, who is another track, one like Florida. Has about 5 tracks all putting in entries for it. And a little bit more heated than Florida, this one is. It's essentially down to 2 tracks between, in a bidding war, essentially, with Mazda Raceway Park Laguna Seca and going for 1 spot, and with Fontana, California getting the other spot. Because, well, I'm thinking Fontana might, because they've recently installed lights at the California Speedway, and must I say the new logo looks pretty cool, but California, I think, is going to get that over Mazda, even though this is another one F1 fans been pushing for, was Mazda Raceway Park Laguna Seca, but the fans don't seem to like road courses, so, and I beg to differ with them, because I think the road courses can sometimes be the best race out there. So I'm thinking Fontana too. Fontana they've put some track improvements in there, because I remember Season 2's race was just really boring, if I remember right. And kind of with Season 1's, but anyway, on to the Missouri, GWR Duckland, let me just say. Bodecker Hill had, other than Indianapolis, which isn't returning this season because of Indy 500 conflicts, other than that race at Indianapolis, Bodecker Hill was by far had the most amount of cars. The most amount of attended people. I mean, that was just insane, and the fan outcry for them was just absolutely insane, and the racing was decent at Bodecker Hill. It came down to a pit strategy race, but I think the CEOs like the way that Bodecker Hill conducted themselves, so Missouri is definitely should be happy about that. And next is the round of Ohio. Another F1 push circuit. This one's confirmed, though. The Ohio Motor Speedway is on that date, and the Ohio Motor Speedway is the shortest track since this, other than the Stockton circuit that we raced at. It's the shortest one that will accommodate the whole field. It's only about 0.46 miles long. It's a little bit under a half mile, a little bit above a 0.4 of a mile circuit. And it's a highly competitive race. It is a very competitive racing there, and a flat oval, that's really surprising to me, but it is. Round 9 of Canada. Canada, this one's another heated battle between the Canadian International Circuit and Mosport, as well as Trois-Rivières, actually. Well, Trois-Rivières has been getting pushed from some of the ARCSOA historians that have been around ARCSOA since Season 1 and 2. Trois-Rivières is, Mosport's getting pushed by most everybody, and CIS has failed its safety test a couple of times, so I don't think it's going to be CIS, especially if Fontana gets approved for round 6. I don't think CIS is going to get it. So I think it's down between Mosport and Trois-Rivières. Well, you can also say that Alex Garjay and Kanjek have been requesting that the city of Montreal put up a bid for the race. Montreal. Formula One uses that circuit, the Ile de Notre Dame, and at the Circuit de Gilles-Villeneuve, and it is a good track for open wheelers. I don't know how it's going to go for stock car racing. I think, if anything, it'll be a massive crash fest if we go there, because it's much more difficult than the Trois-Rivières track was. So, I'm interested to see if that'll actually happen, but if Montreal will even put in an entry. But right now, it's looking like it's between Mosport and Trois-Rivières, and you can almost throw it to Mosport at this stage, because they've got more money than the city of Trois-Rivières is willing to put up. Next, we have the round of Minnesota. Dear God, this track is, if this track is the single most unsafe racetrack in the entire world, I don't know what is. Because any track with restrictor plates, you can go 255 mile an hour around, is dangerous in my book. and these cars are fuel injected, so essentially you won't be able to put a restrictor plate on them. So they're going to be going 315 mile an hour around it, and it's an insane joke of an idea to do that. Well, the safe part, and if I may calm you down a little bit, the safe part is that they won't be in a pack around this 3-mile oval, the Coca-Cola Speedway. It's insane. I mean, we saw in practice, in testing that. They're hitting 315 mile an hour around it. 300! That's faster than Indy cars. That's faster than Indy cars around Fontana in Michigan. And in Michigan, they easily go about 250. And if you put restrictor plates on it, it's still too dangerous to be going in a big giant pack around it. Why are we even there? We had a nice little triangular track we were using in Minnesota in the St. Paul area. We're going to Minneapolis this year, or not Minneapolis. That was in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. We're going to the southern part of Minnesota near what's the word? I can't think of the city name where it is. It's well, that little damn girl that's on TV that had Laura Ingalls, the one that wrote those Little House on the Prairie books are from. What a stupid book. You don't like any books, Graham. No, I don't. I do like the James Bond series, but that's for another conversation. But anyway, that's just ridiculous. Why are we going through... Anyway, back on the track. It's just ridiculous. Why are we going to a track that we can go 315 mile an hour around? It's going to be definitely a huge attended race, but it's ridiculous. Anyway, let's get off Minnesota. Let's go to the round of Michigan, and this one is probably the most controversial round of the season. That is because there could be 2 rounds on this day. One in Michigan and one in Texas, because apparently Texas also applied for the date with the same amount of money. They want the same weekend. Eddie Gossage is going to have it with Texas Motor Speedway. And we could be having 2 races out on the same weekend where drivers would have to choose whether they want to go to Texas or the dirt track and the Port Huron Dirt Coliseum in Michigan. Yeah, well, we know that the 2 Texans and F1 fan will be at the round of Texas, because F1 fan says he will never set foot in the state of Michigan in his entire life. Yeah, he's a big Ohio State fan. Stupid. It's a stupid reason to get so aggressive over American football, where you have to essentially demand that you hate a state over another. But, whatever. So, we know that 3 people are going to the Texas race, if it happens. While others may be going to the Port Huron Dirt Coliseum. It's a huge up in the air. We could be seeing 2 12-car races that day, and no driver can do double duty, ARCSOA has said, so that if there's any drivers left at the Minnesota, that's going to be very interesting to see where they'll go. Oh, I'm sorry, we forgot a race in there. There's actually the round of New York before we go to Michigan. I was thinking we might have forgotten one, but the round of New York is essentially Watkins Glen. No one else can dispute that. Watkins Glen's got it. We're running the boot configuration. Lights will be running the short track, the quick little short track. They might not even run the bus stop, which could be great for them, but they might not run the bus stop. I know ARCSOA Elite will be, but I'm not sure. So that one's easy. We've got the round of New Jersey for round 13. Yeah, the indoor karting facility installed some ventilation systems after about 15 people collapsed with carbon monoxide poisoning. But, yeah, that was kind of a dumb idea. Why go to an indoor karting facility with a bunch of heavy pollutant race cars? But that one was smart. But they installed a new ventilation system, so it looks like that'll be getting the date. The round of Alabama's Talladega and D.C. is after that. So essentially the rest of the schedule is pretty much even. Any final thoughts? I like pie. Well, good for you then. Well, that's it for the ARCSOA Radio Hour, and we will see you next time here on the Olina Sports Network.